If you've ever been ready for the week to end and it's only Monday, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. And welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. We are back here for some more retail earnings this week. Got some news to go through for you here today. We've got a couple of guests for you here today. And of course, we have another week of trading to go here today. Good to see a whole bunch of returning faces today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Monday edition for August 17th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, everybody. As mentioned, I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend filled with relaxation and happiness, maybe even a fantasy football mock draft. I don't know. Good to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. And starting with that, Liam is first here today. Good morning, Liam. Liam, of course, across the pond there, so easy for him to get here. But Liam, early bird gets the worm, and you are first today. Congrats. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Pot G, good afternoon. Welcome back. Daniel, good morning. Derek, good morning. Yes, that girl, good morning. Zach, good morning. Francis, good morning. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Whis, good morning. Jay Wild, welcome back. Good morning. It's good to see you again. Producers locked in and ready to go. I absolutely love it. Alan, good morning. Welcome back. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Elon Musk's official chat. Good morning. Welcome. Carlos, good morning. Welcome back. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. HP Darkside Hemi, good to see you as always. Human Chat Scanner Billy is off and pumping already. He's got some stuff that's moving around for you. You don't even need me to go through that. Billy's going to have it all taken care of for you. EKS, good morning. Welcome back. Good to see you as always. Bavesh, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, good morning. Welcome back. Let's make it a great day. Indeed, brother. That is exactly what we are going to try and do here today. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Alvin, good morning. Welcome back. Rick, good morning. Welcome back. Just passing through, it's great to see you. Harlugo, good morning, welcome back. Master Chief and Acorns, good morning and welcome back. Carmen, good morning. Neville, good morning. Rooster, good morning. We Go Together, good morning. Tom, good morning. Adil, good morning. Maverick, good morning. Tyler, good morning. I've been loading the boat with DraftKings and Fantasy Draft. There we go, Tyler. You're ready to go. You're ready to go. I mock drafted from position 1, took Jahmyr Gibbs, felt great about it. I see Mike K, good morning, welcome back. Ivory, good morning. Welcome back. Kelly, it's always good to see you. Welcome back. Robot to Trade and Dara, good morning and welcome back. Mark, good morning. Welcome back. Durkus, good morning. Welcome back. Jansen, hello and good morning. Hopefully you enjoy yourself here today. And C Boogie, good morning, sir. You say, sir, I turn around and look for my dad. But good morning nonetheless. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures mixed here ahead of Monday's open. We do have the S&P holding on to green, although it was higher earlier in the morning and it's backed off some of those highs. S&P futures are currently holding up by 0.1%, so 0.1%. Dow futures in the red, they're down 0.21%, and the Nasdaq in the green higher by 0.43%. So again, a little bit of a mixed open here, or a mixed futures before the open here on Monday. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as get you set up for this session. We do have several stocks in focus for you, of course. Energies, utilities, and materials led gains on Friday, while healthcare and IT lagged amid a lower sentiment for U.S. stocks, with the Dow dropping over 100 points. U.S. stock futures are mixed on Monday as the Dow index slipped a little bit and the Nasdaq and S&P 500 indices rose following Friday's lower close. Wall Street faces a pivotal retail earnings week to gauge consumer health. That features the likes of Home Depot, ticker HD, Target, ticker TGT, and TJX, ticker TJX. Home Depot's today, Target is tomorrow, and TJX is Wednesday. We also get Walmart, ticker WMT, on Thursday. So a full week of retail earnings. Macro-wise, inline inflation numbers pulled September Fed rate hike expectations down, with investors also awaiting Wednesday's July FOMC minutes. President Trump commenced a recently established Mecca Joint Defense Agreement involving Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan, describing it as a big, bold, and important first step towards self-defense for these nations. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.68%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.15%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets pricing a 30.6% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. Now, we have several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one's going to be Hive Digital Technologies. The ticker is HIVE. Shares rose by 8.92% despite reporting downbeat results for the first quarter. The company posted a quarterly loss of 54 cents per share, which missed the analyst consensus estimate of losses of 20 cents per share. The company reported quarterly sales of 79.12 million, which missed the analyst consensus estimate of 81.123 million. The next stock on our list here is going to be Rocket Lab, ticker RKLB. That was 1.2% higher after it successfully launched 8 satellite platforms built for NVDA space to replenish Globestar's existing communications constellation. The next stock on our list is going to be Micron and SanDisk. The ticker here is MU and SNDK, respectively. MU jumped 3.57%, and SanDisk rose by 5.72%. Amid a strong sector-wide rebound driven by insatiable AI infrastructure demand and tightening memory and flash supply constraints. The next stock on our list is going to be XP Incorporated, and the ticker's easy. It's XP. It was up 0.5% as it's supposed to report earnings after the closing bell today. Analysts expect earnings of 51 cents per share on revenue of 976.54 million. The last stock on our list here today is going to be Fabrinet, and the ticker is FN. It rose 2.31% as analysts expect it to report earnings of $3.82 per share on revenue of $1.27 billion after the closing bell today. All right, let's take a look at that SPY chart. Here we go. Let's back out a little bit so we can see where we're going. So we've had this recent breakout, and then we traded sideways. And we talked pretty much all last week about one of the downside levels being the one from Thursday, August 6th. This is that 767.46 level. That is still going to be in play until we test that. So as far as a downside level goes, that's going to be the first one. The good news here is that our 20-day moving average is actually starting to curl up and might actually catch this as support at the previous breakout level should we show some weakness here or move into the red and then trade down today. Ultimately, we're still kind of watching this recent all-time high up here. I have the one marked off at 776.85, and although we've peaked above that, it still doesn't feel like the market really wants to move away from this level yet. So it still kind of feels like resistance. Now, if we end up trading down here today, where it's not going to take much for us to be beneath that 776.85. So I guess we can continue to look at this as a possible support level here today, maybe even like a pivot level if it wants to hold and move above. But we'll let Monday's candle kind of carve out what we're looking here for the week, and then we'll see if earnings changes that story at all here this week. So I would say going into today, kind of a neutral lay of the land, right? SPY's just kind of right where it was on Friday, a little bit of weakness. It was higher earlier in the pre-market. It's a little bit lower now. Ultimately, the corporate earnings that we're going to get this week and then the Fed's FOMC minutes are probably going to drive the bus to where we finish here at the end of the week. And that's, of course, sans any rogue post or something like that that shakes things up, which is always a possibility, frankly. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts, see what they think and where we might be going here. We'll also take a look, run down the economic data here for you today, or for this week, excuse me. You know what? Give me one sec here. Screwed this up here. Okay. We're going to get some insights here from Mohamed El-Arian. Mohamed El-Arian views the U.S. stock market and economy as trapped in an unstable equilibrium driven by divergence in a structurally challenging world that for now lacks important secular anchors, end quote. While Wall Street equities continue to find reason for exuberance and robust corporate earnings, El-Arian notes that this optimism clashes directly with Main Street reality in the fixed income market. Persistent inflation concerns, softening consumer sentiment, and historically elevated government bond yields create a stark macroeconomic dissonance. He highlights that asset classes are temporarily inhabiting, quote, different realities, end quote, as equity market strength contrasts with weakening economic indicators like declining retail sales. Rather than expecting near-term data to bring clarity, El-Arian warns that the system is undergoing fundamental transformations. He stresses that the traditional, quote, training wheels of central bank forward guidance are gradually removed, end quote, forcing investors to navigate structural volatility. Ultimately, he advises that surviving this fragmented market landscape requires a dedicated strategy, emphasizing that navigating this environment requires the protective trifecta of resilience, agility, and optionality, end quote. All right, so we'll see where that takes us here. Now, taking a look at some of the upcoming economic data, we always take a look at the week ahead here on Monday, and then we go through any individual print as they come. On Monday, August Empire State Manufacturing Survey data will be out by 8:30 here. That's about 19 minutes from now. Shouldn't really move anything. August NAHB Housing Market Index data is coming out by 10. Then starting tomorrow, we get July's housing starts and import price data. That'll be out by 8:30 while we're on the show here. On Wednesday, we get the minutes from the Fed August FOMC meeting. Those will be published. We'll see what happens. On Thursday, we get August Philadelphia Fed Business Outlook Survey and weekly jobless claims for the week ending August 15th. Those will both be out by 8:30, so that data print on Thursday morning might move things. And then July's leading indicators data will be out by 10. On Friday, we do get S&P Flash U.S. Manufacturing PMI and the Flash U.S. Services PMI. That will be released by 9:45. There's your look ahead on your economic data prints. We'll see what causes the market to move here this week, or if it's just mostly corporate earnings that do things. Now, we do have a couple of stories that I wanted to go over with you here. The first one here, Michael Burry, is already taking a victory lap as big tech's $3 trillion AI spending comes into focus. So you'll have to let me know if this is too early or what the case is here. Famed Big Short investor Michael Burry is taking a public victory lap over a new Wall Street Journal report revealing that technology giants have accumulated $3 trillion in future artificial intelligence spending that remains hidden off of their official balance sheets. Excuse me. Taking to X today on August 17th, Burry shared a graphic from the Wall Street Journal article titled, quote, "Why Big Tech's AI Spending is $3 trillion higher than it seems," end quote. Seizing the moment to highlight his early foresight on these massive capital expenditures, Burry posted, quote, "Well, you could have heard it first months ago, 2025 even," end quote. Burry did not just stop at claiming vindication. He also issued a cryptic forward-looking warning about the future market dynamics. He compared the financial media's delayed realization of the true AI spending tab to current market risks, stating, quote, "Like compression threatens now to be covered in 2027 by the Wall Street Journal and CNBC," end quote. The Wall Street Journal analysis paints a picture of financial obligations that go well beyond the public financial statements, while giants like Alphabet, ticker GOOG, Amazon, ticker AMZN, and Meta Platforms, ticker META, and Microsoft, ticker MSFT, while they currently report a combined $248 billion in lease liabilities and $356 billion in long-term debt off their balance sheets, the vast bulk of their financial commitments remains beneath the surface. According to the Wall Street Journal data as shown in the graphic, the companies had about $1.2 trillion in obligations from leases that haven't started and another $1.9 trillion in purchase commitments. A deeper breakdown of these off-balance sheet purchase commitments reveal that Google's parent company Alphabet is taking the most aggressive financial posture in the AI arms race. Alphabet alone accounts for an enormous $811 billion in hidden purchase commitments. By comparison, Meta holds $349.3 billion in similar commitments, and Microsoft reports $228.6 billion. Amazon holds $130.1 billion. So is there another shoe to drop? Did Burry take a victory lap a little bit too early? Who here thinks that some of these AI, maybe even you want to just wrap it under the circular funding narrative that's going on? Who thinks that this AI kind of spending dynamic that everyone's following is actually the cause of a move down or some increased volatility? We'll see if that ends up materializing. Now, you folks did not think that we were going to get through a Monday or even a week without space news, right? Well, you're in luck, because Voyager CEO Dylan Taylor says humans will live and work on the moon in the 2030s. Says we'll have a moon base. Now, I know there's some thought out there that there might already be a moon base on the dark side of the moon. Can't speak to that. But let me just ask you more generally here. Who would be interested in working or living on the moon? Anyone? Can we get anyone? I'm good here on Earth, but that's just me. Voyager Technologies Incorporated, the ticker on this one is VOYG, by the way. Their CEO, Dylan Taylor, believes humans will eventually live and work in space, with the moon likely serving as the next major step towards a broader space economy. Taylor said a lunar base could be established in the early 2030s, with people living and working there and potentially commuting between Earth and the moon. And that is according to a report that was published by Fortune on Sunday. Quote, humans will definitely be living and working in space, end quote. That was Taylor to Fortune. He goes on to say, quote, the next step will be the moon. That'll happen in the 2030s, probably early 2030s, end quote. Taylor said, and then went on to say, we'll have a moon base, people living and working on the moon. You'll be able to look up at the moon and see lights on the moon, end quote. Taylor said the International Space Station already provides a limited example of how humans continuously working in space. The next challenge, he said, is expanding that activity beyond a small group of trained astronauts. Potential jobs could include resource mining, orbital data centers, and power grid construction. Taylor said some of the work would still require humans rather than humanoid robots. Quote, you're not going to be able to program Optimus to do everything on the moon, end quote. And he said that, Taylor, and then added, you're going to have humans figure it out, end quote. Taylor said Mars presents a much bigger challenge because of its distance from Earth and greater radiation risks. Quote, just because it's so much further away, radiation is much more of a bigger problem, end quote. I'd say so. He sees the moon as a more immediate destination, while Mars could eventually support a smaller human colony. Taylor said creating a full civilization on Mars would take much longer. The infrastructure for that future is already taking shape. NASA has awarded nearly $1 billion in contracts to Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin Astrolab, Lunar Outpost, and Firefly Aerospace, ticker FLY, by the way, to build and deliver early infrastructure for a permanent moon base. The contracts include lunar vehicles designed to transport astronauts, move supplies, and support remote operations. SpaceX and Tesla, ticker SPCX and TSLA, their CEO Elon Musk has also pointed towards broader access to the moon. He said he wants lunar travel to become something anyone can do rather than an experience limited to astronauts. SpaceX's Starship architecture is designed to deliver up to 100 tons of cargo to the lunar surface, including habitats, rovers, and equipment. NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacman has called the moon a proving ground for humanity's deep space ambitions and said crews could spend extended periods there in the early 2030s while preparing for Mars. NASA also plans near-monthly lunar missions in 2027 aimed at building an enduring lunar presence. The planned lunar activity could eventually support a broader economy, Isaacman said. He went on to say, quote, there will be a lunar economy someday, end quote. With future activity potentially including mining, as we've discussed. Taylor's comments also come as Voyager works on infrastructure for longer duration space missions. Voyager's NASA-related work includes testing life support systems, crew operations, and integrated systems needed for long-duration missions, including those on the lunar surface. The company is also involved in expandable habitat technology designed to support longer stays in space. In April, Taylor said the infrastructure being built in low Earth orbit today is the, quote, launch pad for humanity's future in deep space, end quote. Voyager is building the replacement for the International Space Station and holds multiple NASA contracts. Taylor also flew to space on a 2021 Blue Origin mission, according to the report. Taylor said Mars could eventually attract people willing to take the risk and pursue the adventure, but he does not expect it to become a large-scale human civilization anytime soon. Quote, enough people that would do that you could start a small colony, end quote. And he went on to say, but this whole notion that we can create an entire civilization, terraform ours, is going to take a long time to do that. Let me just ask you folks really quick right off the start here. How many of you would be willing to go to the moon, to go on a space mission that might last, longer than a week or so? I'd be very curious to know how many people, when push comes to shove, are actually interested in this. I've grown up watching Star Wars and Star Trek, this whole thing, like the little kid in me goes crazy for this. But I'll be honest, now that I've developed a life here on Earth, I'm good with my feet planted firmly here on the Earth. I don't know that I want to go to space and maybe not come back. I think that's a risk that you're going to take. Not for everybody, but very curious to see what the breakdown on this would be. All right, another story here. Tesla's AI boss, Ashok Ellaswamy, calls the full self-driving version 14 James Bond after a dramatic 82-mile-per-hour highway collision avoidance. Well, I mean, speaking of the little kid in me, you know that anytime James Bond gets a reference, you know I'm going to cover that. Tesla, ticker TSLA, their AI software chief, Ashok Ellaswamy, praised full self-driving, the supervised self-driving, version 14 on Sunday, after a highway video showed a Tesla slowing from 82 miles per hour to a complete stop as smoke and crashed vehicles appeared ahead. Quote, you can have James Bond as your personal driver, end quote. Ellaswamy wrote that on X while sharing the clip. Really quickly here, I hate to nitpick here, but if it were James Bond, he wouldn't have come to a complete stop. He would have found some repair truck that had the ramp down, and he would have launched the car over the other cars, probably doing a barrel roll and then landing safely on the other side and continuing the pursuit. But I digress. Tesla also reposted the footage, calling the maneuver, quote, like having a fighter pilot behind the wheel, end quote. The August 1st recording includes multiple camera angles and a data overlay showing the vehicle beginning a controlled deceleration before reaching the obstruction. The vehicle's owner said full self-driving reacted before they had fully recognized the danger, highlighting the proactive decision-making Tesla has emphasized with version 14. Earlier this month, startup investor Paul Graham compared his wife's first full self-driving experience to a religious revelation, end quote. Tesla says full self-driving version 14 can navigate, change lanes, avoid vehicles and objects, and make turns under active driver supervision. Its current V14 trial requires software version 14.2 or later. Tesla explicitly warns that full self-driving does not make your vehicle autonomous and tells drivers to remain attentive and ready to intervene, not sleeping behind the wheel and have a TikTok video made of you. The software is becoming increasingly important to Tesla's growth strategy. Tesla reported 1.48 million active full self-driving subscriptions in the second quarter. That's up 56% year over year from 1.28 million in Q1. Subscriptions hit a record as Tesla expanded its robo-taxi business as well. Tesla also said V14 improvements target, quote, proactive and reactive responsiveness, end quote, in situations including merges, pedestrian interactions, and vehicle cut-ins. Ellaswamy has also pointed to broader international expansion after European regulatory approvals, saying standards used there could open FSD to, quote, a lot more countries, end quote. Still, regulators continue scrutinizing the technology. In March, the NHTSA, escalated its investigation into full self-driving to an engineering analysis covering about 3.2 million Teslas over concerns full self-driving may fail to detect degraded visibility, including glare, dust, or airborne obstructions. The agency reported 9 incidents potentially tied to the issue in March, including 1 fatal crash and 2 injury crashes. Tesla's instructions remain clear that full self-driving is supervised driver assistance and not autonomous driving. The 82-mile-per-hour clip showcases V14's collision avoidance behavior, but the driver remained responsible for supervising the system. So, look, we have no doubt that this is going to get better and better. That, to me, I just have no doubt. And I also have no doubt that there's a particular cohort of people that are going to benefit from this. My big worry about this whole thing is that there's just such an excitement for the new, let's call it bleeding edge technology, that it actually ends up in some disasters that get plastered all over the front page of a website or another newspaper or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, got a couple minutes before our first guest here today. I got another story for you. This one is going to be for Stripe. Stripe nears a $7 billion plus open router acquisition as payment giants deepen their AI push. Now, we talk about AI in pretty much every possible area that it's going to be in. Payment processing, security, encryption, all of that is going to be one of them without a doubt. Stripe is reportedly nearing a deal to acquire Open Router for more than $7 billion, marking one of the payment giant's biggest moves yet into artificial intelligence infrastructure. The final price for the acquisition could change, Bloomberg reported that, citing multiple people familiar with the matter. The deal comes as Open Router in May raised a $120 million Series B round at a $1.3 billion valuation, with backing from Alphabet's Google, Capital G, Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz, and Menlo Ventures. That is all according to the report. The companies already have a commercial partnership with Open Router using Stripe's payment infrastructure to process customer transactions. Meanwhile, Stripe has a valuation of $171 billion. Founded in 2023, Open Router operates as an AI gateway that gives businesses and developers access to a wide range of AI models, including proprietary and open source systems. Open Router says it processes 200 trillion tokens per month, serves more than 10 million users globally, and connects customers with more than 80 providers and 500 models. In July, Stripe partnered with private equity firm Advent International to propose a $53 billion acquisition of PayPal, ticker PYPL, which was reportedly rejected due to a low valuation. Patrick Collison and John Collison, or is it Collison, founded Stripe in 2011 to build payment infrastructure for the internet, and the company has since become one of the most valuable private companies in the U.S. So we'll see. I got one more real quick add-on here. So here. So this is actually going to be about Waymo. Waymo gets California's green light for robo-taxi expansion across the Bay Area and Los Angeles. So Waymo has won California's approval to dramatically expand its driverless ride-hailing footprint, and it looks like it's going to be San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles, while adding Sacramento and San Diego as some new markets here. So, quote, big news for the Golden State. We have received the CPUC's approval to expand our autonomous ride-hailing services across the San Francisco Bay Area and LA and bring our service to Sacramento and San Diego, end quote. Waymo said that in an X post late on Friday. The company said the expansion would be, quote, gradual and guided by our safety framework. The California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, approved Waymo's updated passenger safety plan on August 14th, allowing driverless deployment across additional portions of Northern and Southern California. The authorization, builds on an expanded operating domain in the California DMV approved in November. The application drew 29 supportive responses, including from disability advocates and business groups, but the San Diego's Metropolitan Transit System and its Taxi Cab Advisory Committee objected over transit disruption, local control, and potential harm to taxi operators. CPUC staff ruled these policy objections did not constitute valid grounds to block the application. Waymo began laying groundwork in Sacramento in February and previously announced San Diego as a 2026 market. Reuters reported last year that Las Vegas and Detroit were also joining its expansion pipeline. Benzinga, as you would imagine, reached out to Waymo for additional information on the announcement, but did not receive an immediate response, especially with Detroit on the horizon. That will be one that we definitely bring to you ASAP. The approval further strengthened Waymo's lead as Tesla tries to scale its competing robotaxi service. Waymo now provides more than 500,000 fully autonomous electric trips weekly and has accumulated more than 220 million autonomous rider-only miles. Growth has brought safety scrutiny, however. The NHTSA said Waymo recalled 3,871 fifth-generation automated driving systems in June after vehicles enter closed freeway and construction zones. Federal records document 6 Phoenix incidents in April and 7 in the Bay Area in May before Waymo restricted freeway operations and deployed software improvements. The issue followed other recalls, while NHTSA has separately warned autonomous vehicle developers about interference with emergency responders. Waymo counters with safety data showing 94% fewer serious or fatal injury crashes than comparable humans driving across more than 220 million autonomous miles. Waymo has not announced an exact launch date for its Sacramento or the broader California expansion. So this continues to roll forward. We'll see which one is the winner of that. I think the hope is that with the increased competition, the customers are the winner. That's what it seems to me. For me, if I don't get to drive the car, it's not necessarily a win for me. All right, folks, that's it for the news. It is Monday, and we have one of our favorite guests is back. We're going to bring on Kevin Davitt from Nasdaq. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Kevin, good morning. Happy Monday. How you doing, my man?
Happy Monday. I'm doing well. I'm also excited to highlight Jared Crawford in your chat, who's apparently excited to hear what I have to say about index options. So you got the right kind of audience. I'm doing great.
Yes, we do. I'll tell you what, Jared's been a big supporter of us every morning. We absolutely love it. That's why we keep doing what we're doing here. So thanks very much for joining us, Kevin. Now, look, so here's the deal. So outside of the market, we're coming on football season. Everyone's excited. But when we get back to the market here, it seems like that excitement is waning a little bit. To me, at least from the people that I discuss, there's this thought of an impending pullback at some point, although they can't tell me exactly when it is. We're entering now another phase of the earnings season here where we're going to have retailers report, so we should get an idea on the strength of the consumer here. And then down the road into the fall, we have midterms. So I think about all of these things, and I think to myself, boy, this has the makings of a volatile fall coming up here. Am I right on that? Am I misreading the tea leaves? Where are we at? What do you think about the volatility ending the summer here, going into the fall?
So I'd like to just preface this with, I look at the markets through a historical lens and with an emphasis on index options. Mm-hmm. And I don't know any more than you or your audience about what's in store. We have tons of data that looks at how markets have performed, whether it's a midterm election year, a broad election year, what have you. Your audience is sophisticated, and they likely know that volatility tends to pick up after we move from summer to fall. And the historical data backs that up. I think I'm sharing. I tried to get the visual up before I was live, but yeah, gotcha. I have this 10-year look back, at monthly Nasdaq 100 performance. And the row across the top shows you the average over that 10-year time frame. And you see a whole lot of green across the top. That means on average, on a monthly basis, the Nasdaq 100 tends to climb. Great. February, September, and December are the only years where on average you see negative months. And what I did in that September column, where you're like 3/4 through onto the right, is highlight a handful of years between 2023 and 2020 that were quite challenging. That is not me saying it is inevitable, but as we move through these handful of visuals, I will highlight the propensity, which I just alluded to, for volatility to pick up as we move from August to September. So just recapping, September tends to be a more volatile month. October historically is when broad markets tend to bottom and rebound. That tendency is arguably exacerbated during midterm election years. Whether that plays out this year, I don't know, but I value optionality against that backdrop.
Okay. This is good stuff here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to make of the upcoming, September month here. I was certain in July we had really good seasonality. We were going to see some positive arrows in July, and then we didn't. Right? It was basically flat, if I recall correctly. And so part of me wonders, are we going to get an opposite thing here in September, or what's going to happen here? But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Ultimately, I think none of us know the future. We even try to predict it. That doesn't go so well. What do you have for us here?
We will, and just on your last point, right? Like we do get a very good look at the consumer through retailer earnings this week. I would point out that Walmart is a name that historically wouldn't be associated with the Nasdaq 100, moved their listing to Nasdaq and is a top 15 name in the index. And the consumer, as your audience likely knows, drives a significant portion of the US economy, somewhere between 2/3 and 70%. So something to pay attention to this week. Shifting gears and again, sort of focusing on the index options. A handful of weeks ago, little over a month ago, you and I spoke and I highlighted the unusual premium in NDX options when compared to the S&Ps. That relationship has continued to normalize. So I'm going to explain what your audience is looking at here. Up on the top side, the white line is plotting at the money 1 month implied volatility for NDX options, and the yellow one is S&P options, same 1 month at the money. Now, on the bottom, we're looking at the spread in point terms. In June, after that significant run from the end of March to sort of late June, where technology really, really outperformed, that spread widened to historic levels. It came in a bit, but over the past couple of weeks, that spread has really been narrowing. And I think that's interesting. I think it's a market digesting a move over kind of the spring, summer Q2 period that arguably got out ahead of itself. How that plays out over the next couple of weeks, the tendency, at least this week from my seat, as we move into standard August expiration, would be for this to continue. I think you would take a real shift, whether it was geopolitical or something macro, to interrupt that. But when I look out past this Friday's standard expiration, I do think that your ranges for broad markets could expand. And one thing your audience likely knows is that in early September, we're going to get numbers, late August from Broadcom and early September from NVIDIA. And those, hearing from a lot of the people that do business, a lot of the companies that do business with them already, it can be market moving. And the tendency has been to rally into NVIDIA report and then come back afterward. We will see what shakes out in the coming weeks as far as that's concerned.
Okay. Now, let me ask you the tough question here. That's all great. How do midterms play into this? And what should we expect?
My Just my take here. In my experience, really positioning heavily dependent on a political outlook tends to cloud your perspective or be a negative expectancy outcome. Um, the markets are going to digest it. I think they are increasingly good at discounting what is likely coming in the future. You likely talk to a certain extent about the outgrowth of event contracts. That's an area where Nasdaq is interested. You will likely hear more there. But the market has a really good sense of whether the Democrats are likely to take over the House or Senate, what that means for policy. My take would be that really positioning perhaps around the edges, like sector rotation potential, but much more than that, I think is probably not advisable, just because not a whole lot gets done in Congress these days. That's my take.
Okay, no, I think that's a good take here. We'll see what that sets up here for the fall. Okay, now, so what do you have for us here? You have observed return versus the prior day implied move. What's going on with this?
It's a good question. And your audience that cares about index options, this is hopefully where they would perk up. My colleague of mine we have access to a ton of data. And when you look at the option prices, like an at the money straddle or your one standard deviation range, which typically people look at 16 delta options, that's telling you what the market's expected range for the reference asset is over any given time frame. In this situation, we're looking at single days. And a whole lot of the activity in NDX is focused on short-term options. So the relationship between what the market's implying and what is subsequently realized can play a big role in potential profitability. By and large, what index option users tend to do is sell some option premium with the expectation that the expected move exceeds what's realized, and that time decay works in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there have been a significant number of observances during July and early August where that would have been detrimental because the realized volatility exceeded the expected volatility where you see these dots outside of the shaded area. What I find interesting is that as volatility has contracted more recently, this past sort of 8 session observation on the right hand side, the market's been right, and volatility has been repriced lower, but so too have the observed moves. And it might be counterintuitive to your audience, but generally speaking, selling optionality on a spread basis tends to work in environments where volatility is where implied volatility remains relatively low. It can be very challenging when you have implied volatility, say you have a VXN around 36 or 40. The options are very expensive in those environments, but it tends to be because the market is moving very significantly. More recently, we've seen implied volatility contract and those day over day ranges contract even more significantly. So I found that interesting.
Yeah. So how do we apply that to trading then? I mean, because to me, this does seem counterintuitive. Like it seems like there's more uncertainty recently, yet the moves are more in line with what the options are predicting. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. That's what it looks like from the chart.
The gray areas, when it expands, the market is pricing greater uncertainty, and as it contracts, the market is pricing less uncertainty. As we have moved through earnings season, sort of in particular the past 2 weeks after we got past the really big name earnings, those expected ranges contract. What we observe in terms of behavior is a whole lot of spread selling outside of the expected range. So let's just make this math relatively easy. If you have NDX right around 30,000 and the expected range is 1%, we might see people sell spreads above and below by 300 points. That expected range is 1%. I might sell a 30,300 310 call spread and the 29,700 put and buy the 690. And that would be expecting the market to stay within that 1% range. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it does, my spreads go to zero and I'm collecting premium. But in situations where you see that move exceed the implied range, then you're likely getting dinged up a little bit. And so of late, we have seen the market remain well behaved
Mhm.
relative to what the options have been pricing. And I find that interesting.
Yeah, you know what else here? It'll be interesting to see if this dynamic changes at all as we get closer to the end of August when we expect that NVIDIA earnings report. I wonder if we'll hold this
I
pattern or if that'll shift at all.
That's a good question. What we have observed in the past is that around those known unknown events, like a big earnings,
Mhm.
or for example, a CPI, if I went back to last week, your audience likely knows that Wednesday, this middle bar right here was the CPI data, inflation data.
Yep.
And the straddles tend to hold value against the backdrop of those known unknowns a little bit better, and I would expect that to be the case when we see something like a Broadcom earnings, NVIDIA earnings,
Okay.
or the Jackson Hole Symposium, which the market is continues to price uncertainty around that.
Yeah.
This one I won't belabor, but the bigger picture point is that we saw unusual behavior in May. And what I mean by that in terms of volatility dynamics is that typically when the market moves higher, implied volatility moves lower. And the relationship there is spot up, vol down. But what we observed in May was a whole bunch of market higher, volatility higher. 40% of the daily observations that occurred. Very unusual. What we are seeing this month is like the exact opposite of that. We are seeing the market kind of inch lower, spot down, but volatility contracts. And I find that interesting. My caveat would be as we move through sort of standard expiration, where a whole bunch of gamma can roll off the dealer sheets, ranges can expand. And I would point to this last week in August, where you have the Jackson Hole Symposium and a Fed that seems committed to being less transparent, and then the wrap up of big AI earnings as that potential question mark as I think about positioning out over the next couple of weeks. That's just me, though.
Yeah, that's okay. That's very interesting. I mean, I'll tell you what, you're smarter than I am because anytime that I come across something that I can't make sense of, I tend to say, oh, well, we got the midterms coming. Maybe that's just kind of an outlier event that might be getting priced in.
Well, Ryan, the thing that's beautiful about markets is that we can look at them all through our own lens and with our own sort of inclinations and understandings.
And we do
And
that
there's no
daily.
right way to do that. Yeah, your audience knows that. And mine is typically index options based. That doesn't make it right. I am fluent in that world, but your audience has edges. Let's say you work in engineering or I don't know, aviation or something, right? You look for edges where you can find them and exploit them, and where I think optionality opens up a whole bunch of interesting angles where you don't have to be necessarily spot on in your analysis. You can be a little bit wrong and still be right. And I think a whole lot of people are coming to that understanding. Now,
Okay.
my last point here to wrap it all up. This is looking like that in that first chart was looking at Nasdaq 100 monthly performance net seasonality. This is looking at VXN, which is like what your audience is familiar with VIX, but the inputs is the Nasdaq 100 options. What I'm highlighting here is the propensity for implied volatility looking at the Nasdaq 100 to increase fairly substantially in September. Now,
Mhm.
the tendency is for the Nasdaq 100 to move lower in September. Typically, when an index moves lower, volatility moves higher. But some of these numbers, and again, it sort of corresponds to that 2023 to 2020 area that I highlighted, big pullbacks in the Nasdaq 100. there have been some big jumps in VXN in the month of September in recent years. Does that mean it's going to happen this month? Absolutely not. But forewarned is kind of forearmed. And the last point I'll make is that there is an interesting pricing relative between calls and puts. And calls at the NDX level have been bid up, and puts that put skew has come in considerably. And so if you are concerned about a pullback, what I would consider a collar or maybe a risk reversal where you sell out of the money calls and buy out of the money puts on a volatility basis, those screen very cheap right now. And that would be sort of where I would leave this conversation up to your audience to sort of digest and say,
Yeah.
is that something that I'm concerned about and would position around?
Yeah. Oh, well, we did see, that's the thing. We did the same thing around July. We thought July, positive seasonality. Perhaps we should position around that in June. Now we're seeing that, except with VIX this time, right? We're
Correct.
expecting more volatility in September. Will users position for that? Okay. And then I would say, and it's okay if there's no answer here. I'm just trying to channel what our viewers kind of think about on a regular basis here. Does the data, regardless of what it says, does the data portend a move like lower into the midterms or a move higher into the holiday season? Are we just too far off for that? Is there anything that we can lean on the data for that? And again, it's okay if the answer is no.
No, that's a totally fair question. And my answer would be that on an implied volatility basis, volatility tends to bottom right now, mid-August, and peak mid-October. What that implies at the index level is a pullback. And that tends to be slightly greater during midterm election years as the market sort of churns through uncertainty. Uncertainty is the enemy of investors, despite it being pervasive. So, to answer a little bit more directly, the long term tendency is for markets to pull back a bit. But really, when you look at a whole lot of data, it's not a super significant pullback. And that's where people tend to get really hurt. Does that possibility exist? Yes, of course. But do I think it's going to be predicated on a shift in the House or Senate? No, I would imagine that that would be more geopolitical or something outside of the US politics. That's just my take.
Okay. All right. Well, that's Kevin. That's great. I appreciate all of that. And I especially appreciate the data that you've laid out here. You've actually given us some things to think about. And it's early on a Monday. Way to go.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Always. Kevin, we really appreciate all of the insight here. Of course, Kevin Davitt, the head of index options content at Nasdaq. Thanks again for joining us, waking up with us here early. Kevin, have a great rest of your week. I can't wait to follow up with you again.
I look forward to it as well.
All right. Awesome. That is Kevin Davitt from Nasdaq. All right, folks, we're rolling on here. Just really quickly, I want to take a quick peek at the market. We do have another guest coming up here in just a couple of minutes, by the way. Like I said, promised you a loaded show here. That's exactly what we're going to do. And but let's take a very quick peek at some of the markets. When we first got on here, I had told you that things were mixed. Things are changing a little bit here. So the S&P, which, or the SPY in this case, S&P 500, which was up earlier in the pre-market, has actually fallen back into the red here. So we're about at unchanged. You can see where we closed on Friday versus where we're at now. But some notable weakness here. This is what the SPY looks like. Here's what the Qs look like. More noticeable weakness here, although we're still holding on to green. The Dow Jones, ticker DIA is what we're going to use for that. That continues to have some more weakness. So that continues to weaken here in the pre-market. The other thing we want to take a look at is, of course, going to be the IWM. This also looking a little bit weak here. USO, I know we also kind of talk about how oil's doing with respect to what the market's doing. Here's a quick look at USO. This is actually up by 0.8. Oil futures up by just shy of 0.8 here as well. So looks to me like we're starting to weaken a little bit. The question is, out of the open, Are we going to be able to kind of put in a support level here, or are we going to actually be weak here today? So we shall see. Okay, let's see here. Looks like my guest is not quite ready yet. We'll probably get to that in a couple of minutes. I also had an issue here with the Restream chat, but let's see. I've got it popped out here. It looks like, several of you were thanking Kevin. Okay, so it looks like I have the chat ready to go here. We'll go to our guest in just a couple of minutes right there at 9. In the meantime, though, and I think we covered all of the news. Yeah, we did. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take a very quick peek at some of the movers here. With another guest at 9, I'm just not sure how much time we're going to have to cover some of these movers, so we might as well just get a look at some of them now. The first one here, and the one that is at the top of the movers list for today, is going to be IPST. This is IP Strategy Holdings. This stock is up 272%. And when I checked on this earlier, yeah, it doesn't look like there's any news on this at all. So maybe this is moving with the Hive stuff, the Hive catalyst that's going on, although I don't think so. No, doesn't look like it. This is just one of our movers here. So if you folks have anything on ticker IPST, let me know. I don't necessarily see anything right now on this. Short interest on this name, 1.38% of the float shorted. It's pretty negligible, to be honest with you. 1.06 days to cover. It is under 1 million shares in the float, so the micro float, probably one of the reasons why this thing's moving around here today. But this is a U.S. stock moving higher by multiple 100% on what looks like no news and low float. So IPST, get ready for one of those low float movers here today. In trading here today. Okay, now the next one here, this is IVF, which we've traded a number of times before. Quick peek at the chart, give you an idea of what's going on here. Looks like it made a kind of a nasty intraday double top there at 3. The good news on this one, though, we're actually still holding the VWAP. So we're up 158%. We haven't given everything back. We haven't started to use the VWAP as resistance, so maybe we'll have a move here into the early morning, perhaps the afternoon. Invo Fertility shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 EPS results. That's actually a quality catalyst here. This came this morning. Looks like they had an EPS of 35 cents. That beat the 65-cent loss estimate. Sales came in a little light there. Stock's still up 156%. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. It's a little bit more elevated, but I still would not classify this as high. 13.53% of the float shorted with 2.31 days to cover. Look, definitely elevated. Does not meet either of our high metrics for 20% of float shorted or 5 days to cover. We'll see if that comes into play here. Float on this one, 1.78 million. So this is still low float, although it's not one of our micro floaters. Again, we'll see how this trades here today. This one at least has a catalyst, and the catalyst on this one is actually sound. The next one on this list is going to be True Golf. I think that this did not have a news catalyst here. Let me check real quick. True Golf, of course, traded up in the after hours last week. Yep, nothing here today. Holding higher by 64%, but as you can see, battling with the VWAP over the last 20 minutes or so here. Really, we've peaked above it, but we've really been unable to move and hold above it. That would actually clear the way for the next move higher here. We'll see if it can get through 159, 160 on True Golf. Short interest on this name, 4.31% of the float shorted and just about 1 day to cover. Float on this one, 1.085 million. So theme here across the board, low float stocks at the top of our movers list here today. I know we've traded True Golf before. Yeah, so last time we've traded this on some pretty big pops. Please understand this does tend to move back down a lot. So looks like that's kind of what we're going to get here again on TRUD, True Golf Holdings. Okay, I think we're a couple of minutes early here, but we should be good. Can I get a thumbs up from the guest if you're ready to go? We are ready. I told you folks we were going to have a loaded show for you here today. Well, guess what? I've got another special guest for you. It is my pleasure to welcome the First Phosphate CEO, John Passalacqua, to the show. Let's go ahead and bring him on. John, good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning. How you doing? Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Look, we really appreciate this whenever folks come on to join us and talk about news and the companies that they represent. Really appreciate hearing it straight from the source. I'm just going to dive right in here real quick. For those that might not know, can you please tell us more about First Phosphate?
Yeah, First Phosphate is a mineral development and clean tech company whose goal it is to fully onshore the lithium iron phosphate LFP battery industry from mine to market in North America. As you know, this was one of the three things that was threatened back in October of 2025, along with rare earths, microprocessors, and the third was LFP technology. There is a halt on exportation of LFP technology right now from China. So it is First Phosphate's desire to onshore this supply chain from mine to market for North American energy independence.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of that going on, whether it's energy, defense, or otherwise. Look, most investors understand lithium, but very few understand phosphate as a battery critical mineral. We've talked a lot about battery themes being important here, but we really haven't dived down on the actual minerals themselves. You've pointed out that phosphate represents roughly 60% of LFP cathode material by weight versus around only 4% for lithium. Why is phosphate getting so little attention?
Well, phosphate is starting to get a lot of attention. Look at the reception that we've had since we have been public here. Our stock has had quite a lift while it was in Canada. Now it's listed in the U.S. Since it's been listed in the U.S. for the past 2 days, the volume has been record for the last 2 days. Lithium is really synonymous with electrification, but if you look at the new batteries that are out there, lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are now almost 80% of the batteries produced in the world, 60% of the cathode of an LFP battery is phosphate, high purity phosphate, whereas lithium is only 4% of that cathode. So yes, the market has been focused on lithium for a long time. There's about 150 lithium companies trading on worldwide markets. And as far as we know, First Phosphate is the only company that's focused on phosphate and high purity phosphate for the lithium iron phosphate battery industry, and 100% focused on that.
Okay. Now you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation here, so please forgive me. I believe it's Begin Lamarche.
Lamarche, yes.
Begin Lamarche. Okay, I was pretty close there. Look,
very good.
It is a conventional sedimentary phosphate. It's a high purity igneous phosphate. What does that distinction matter, particularly for producing LFP battery materials?
Yeah, it's a big one. So sedimentary phosphate rock is 95% of the world's phosphate, and you can basically give that, make the equivalent of that to phosphate for fertilizer. But when you're looking at high purity phosphate, which is what goes into the battery, so you need the highest purity phosphate. So igneous phosphate, which comes from lava rock, and that's only 5% of the world's phosphate, is the best one for making a lot of purified phosphoric acid for going into LFP battery. For instance, the phosphate concentrate from the Benzinga project, that basically converts at a factor of 91.1% into purified phosphoric acid for the battery. Whereas when you're taking sedimentary phosphate, maybe only 20–30% of that can convert up into purified phosphoric acid, and the rest of it has to stay back in a fertilizer stream. So what's really important about what we have here is a phosphate that goes directly into high technology and does not have to touch the fertilizer industry, and can make a lot of it because there's going to be a lot of need for it. Like LFP batteries growing at 30–60% quarter over quarter in China. So the amount of phosphate that's going to be needed in the West as we onshore this is spectacular. And the only way to get to it is with igneous rock.
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's not like you can just produce more of that, right? That's kind of a limited quantity as it is. And I don't see the demand for any of this going anywhere. I think you're spot on with that. Now, Canada has now roughly about 21.5 million Canadian dollars in non-repayable support for the project. And Quebec has selected the Begin Lamarche for file-on fast-track support. What are the governments seeing strategically in this project?
Well, it's really important, up in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, there's two industries that are under pressure right now. It's aluminum and forestry. So they're really looking at phosphate, igneous phosphate, and LFP battery as, the kind of the new industry, not only for jobs and employment, but also for electrification. So they're putting a lot of their muscle behind it. Just the fast track alone on the Quebec government side is going to help us out a lot, because it just means we kind of go through one central office for permitting. And then the funding from the Canadian government, it's everything from the feasibility study to the roads, to the electrical infrastructure. And all of this has also been parlayed up to the G7. We were endorsed at the G7 level just a couple of months ago, because as you know, it was three of the things that were threatened on the West, right? One of the three supply chains, rare earths, microprocessors, but LFP battery. So it's got everybody's eyes, right up from the municipality all the way up to the nation states and right up to the G7 level.
Okay, now that's a perfect segue there. Speaking of the G7 level, there's a much bigger geopolitical story here involving the G7 and European partners, including Denmark and Italy, with potential guarantees of up to 275 million Canadian dollars. Can you explain this, and why are these governments and institutions getting involved with First Phosphate?
Yeah, so the G7 came out with a statement that said that they don't want any one country to own over 60% of any supply chain out there in the world. And if you look at LFP battery, it's over 98, 99% controlled in China. So they have to do something about it really quick, because that statement is for 2030. So the G7 wants First Phosphate to get into production as soon as possible. So coming to the table with these loan guarantees so early on basically sets the state for the project to advance as quickly as possible, for private capital to become involved, and for us basically to get the shovels in the ground as soon as possible. So we're looking at a project right here that's being accelerated on all levels, the local, the provincial, federal, the national, and also the international.
Okay, now we are here a show of traders and investors, so I'm going to ask you those questions now. Now that, and the ticker for your company here, PHOS, now that it's trading on the Nasdaq, what are the major milestones for investors and what they should be watching over the next 12 to 18 months as you begin turning towards the Benzinga Edge into a producing North American source of LFP grade phosphate?
Yeah, perfect. So I think first off, it's important to note we just listed on Nasdaq 3 days ago. We rang the bell on Thursday. There's only 1.3 million shares or ADRs available. We came to Nasdaq self-sponsored without any capital raise. And we're very well financed. We've got 30 million in the bank in our own coffers, and access to the 21.5 million from the federal government. That's enough to get through all the next steps, which I'll list out. So the next step obviously is the feasibility study. We just finished our infill drilling. We have our mineral resource estimate coming out very soon here. And then from there, we've got to do our feasibility study, which we're targeting for early 2027. From there, it's permitting, and then it's final investment decision. And at that final investment decision, as you know, there's already the nation states lined up with non-dilutive and very friendly capital at very, very good rates to get this project going. And we're looking to have a mine going by at some point in 2029, 2030 at the latest. And we've already got the definitive bankable offtake and some prepayments on that as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you're doing good already. And then lastly here, so across these next 12 to 18 months, what are some of the key catalysts that are going to help, meaningfully transform First Phosphate's growth trajectory and then ultimately the shareholder value?
Yeah, so basically, as we go towards past feasibility study and into production, obviously the net present value sort of starts to kick in. The net present value is at 2.1 billion right now. We're trading at about 15% of that net present value, I believe, maybe 20%. And then there's also the whole downstream facilities, right? It's not just about a mine. It's about then processing into purified phosphoric acid. And then it's about getting into the LFP batteries, right? The LFP batteries such as this one, which I'm showing right here on the screen, which is, the first LFP batteries that we've been able to create with North American critical minerals in the cathode and the anode. So there's a lot of downstream, there's a lot of downstream partnerships. There's a full value equation here. It's not just the mine, it's a full technology spectrum that starts with the mine with the ambition of getting as far down the supply chain into the LFP battery as we can, and to working with various partners downstream to make this happen for North America. I mean, we've been able to replicate the full LFP battery supply chain in miniature using technologies that are immediately scalable to make these batteries, which when we're tested just like any other battery that's out there in the market that would come from Asia. So we've got quite a big tech cycle here, and we're protected. We're protected in that we start with the mine, so it's a mine to market strategy, full supply chain.
John, first of all, this has been absolutely fabulous. When it comes to batteries and power sources, let me just kind of ask you just off the cuff here, because we talk about a lot of different themes that are going to benefit from all of this technology, so on and so forth. Are there any specific themes that you're really, really excited about? And if not, or if you can't talk about them, does the theme of drones or like these humanoid robotics, does this just kind of get you excited for what is going to be relied on from these batteries in the future?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And so I look at that kind of like, when they were talking about picks and shovel strategies
Yeah.
during the gold rush, guy selling the jeans, the guy selling the picks, the guy selling the hotel rooms or the transportation. LFP battery is really one of those. And I'd really like to just bring it home to the viewers is everyone is always stuck on EVs when talking about batteries. If you look at the LFP segment and why it's so versatile, EVs are only 14% of the LFP segment. There's other things in there, like all the charging stations run on LFP, telecom runs on LFP, all the batteries for battery energy storage, all that energy that's coming off the wind or the solar that needs to be stored to be able to be sent back out during non-peak hours. That's about a good, 35-40% of LFP. AI data centers. Everyone's talking AI data centers all day long, and how do we invest in them? Well, guess what? Every single electron that goes into a data center, because that's really what a data center is. It's an electron processing facility. Every electron has to be sort of homologated. It needs to go through there in a clean way. You just can't take power off the grid. You need to clean that energy. And so everything that goes into an AI data center has got to go through an LFP battery. The voltage has got to be regulated. The power has got to be regulated. The throughput's got to be regulated, and it's got to be stored in a battery, in an LFP battery, before it goes through that data center. And it might be stored and reused in batteries 2 or 3 times before it comes out of a data center as well. So that's the AI data center side of it too. But then there's also drones. There's all these skateboards, bikes that you see, small mobility, larger mobility, goes all the way even up to mining equipment that they're trying to electrify now. So it's a massive segment. And it's think about running everything that you would run on gas or diesel is now in some form or another moving onto battery, whether everyone likes it or not. And the only way to do that right now is LFP battery. It's the only battery that's versatile enough, has got the fire resistance, and it's got the low cost, and it's got the availability of the materials, because it's much simpler now. It's just lithium, iron, and phosphate, right? Phosphate 61%, iron's about 35%. And then the lithium's only 4% in there. So really the investing audience has to start looking beyond lithium and understanding, if I want to really get to what's in this battery, these batteries that are growing at 30-60%, per quarter over quarter, the lithium's going to be growing that 4% at 30 to 60%. But what happens when the phosphate, which is 60% of the battery, that needs to grow at 30 to 60% to keep up? Where are we going to get it all from? So we're all invested in these 150 lithium companies out there, and that's 4% of LFP. How do we get invested in phosphate? And right now, as far as I'm concerned, and we're very lucky, there's only one company out there that's 100% fully dedicated to high purity phosphate, not for agriculture, but 100% for technology, and that's First Phosphate. We've been building this model, very judiciously here for the past 4 years. And finally, we got our debut on Nasdaq, where it really counts, where investors can get access to this new asset class, which is igneous phosphate for LFP battery.
Okay. John, look, technology is advancing rapidly. There's a lot that's going to be pretty much just new right around the corner here, and you seem to be at the corner of that. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to look forward to more updates from you and your team. I really appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much to everybody at Benzinga. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, that's great. And then, folks, that is John Passalacqua, CEO of Phosphate. Again, the ticker is PHOS on the Nasdaq. You just got a quick history there of why this is going to be so important right now and into the future. So thanks, John, for joining us here today. I look forward to more of this. This is going to be a theme that we continue to check back in on, no doubt about it. All right. Let me go back to Benzinga Pro here. Perfect. And let's see, where am I at on time? Okay, we've got about 17 minutes till the market opens up. We've already covered some of the movers here. We could probably go ahead and take care of the rest of them. Let me go through the chat here real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. You guys like that? Okay, awesome. Awesome. The battery tech has come a long way, and it's a good thing. But I don't think any more clean than oil. We'll see how that goes, though. But okay, really good interview to start off the week. We're starting off the week popping here today. Thanks, John and Kevin, both of our morning guests here today. Now, I will keep running through some of the movers here. As soon as 13 is available, we'll bring him on. We'll get you all set for the regular session. Let me actually, I've been busy actually talking. Let me take a quick peek at the big news here and see if anything has changed from this morning. Doesn't look like it. Looks like we got this headline from the senior Iranian official. Perhaps that's what drove the market a little bit lower. S&P trying to climb back into the green here after going green to red. So, okay. So it looks like basically just a little bit of shifting around here. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot is different from when we first checked in. Okay. Really good stuff there. Let's keep rolling through the movers, and then we can roll through some other stocks that you folks are looking for here. We covered IPST, we covered IVF, we covered TRUG. Next on the list here was going to be YYAI. This is Airwa, and I wonder if this is moving on a catalyst here as well. Friday, it looks like they had an insider sale there for 8 cents. Is this another reverse split? Yep. Okay. So this explains why it's moving, at least. Not a whole lot for us to go through here. Ticker YYAI did a 1 for 20 reverse effective today. And the stock is now up an additional 41% from that reverse. I'll be honest with you. This is not something that I'm interested in. An 8-cent penny stock, not my jam. But that's why it's moving here. Interestingly enough, we have a support line here, or a key level here that's at 160, right where the price is. It's at 155. I beg your pardon, it's at 155. So interestingly enough, after this split, we actually traded above that key level here. We're doing our best to hold on to that. We'll see here. This is a total avoid for me, so be very careful if you end up playing this one. Next one here is going to be my size. Ticker is MYSZ. We've actually traded this one before, although I can't remember how we did on this. You can see here we did have an initial move higher to about 687. We retraced almost that entire move. We also gave one attempt to get above the VWAP, really couldn't do that, ended up giving that up. Here's what the daily chart looks like on my size. We've seen other pops like this before. We know how it ends, folks. It ends with this coming back in. So if you're going to trade this here today, understand that your trade needs to be short in duration in order to take advantage of this. 1.48% of the float is shorted on this name. I've got a days to cover of 1, so it doesn't look like the short interest is really doing a whole lot here. Float, on the other hand, another micro float. We're actually less than 600,000 shares in the float here today. Good Lord. So MYSZ, my size, this made a big pop, came all the way back in. I'd be very, very skeptical of this one here today. All right. Let me see. I heard a good sound. 13, are we good? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We're thumbs up. Let's go ahead and bring on 13. Let's see how he's doing here today and where he wants to start. 13, good morning. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a nice weekend. How was your weekend? How did
you have a weekend? I'll tell you what.
Did you have a weekend, and how?
So here's the thing. So I did have a nice weekend. I'll be honest. I actually caught up on a lot of rest, which my body was telling me that I needed it. So I was able to do that. That's great. I will say, 13, I did find myself really yearning for football. Like, we are at that stage now where I really just need it to be here, right? Preseason is here. I enjoyed it. Fantasy drafts, mock drafts. And I watched the Bear game, the highest scoring team of preseason week 1, by the way. Just leave it out there. But nonetheless, I'm ready for the real stuff, right? Yeah. I'm ready for the real stuff. Now, I will say it was rainy. It was hot here. I saw that it was 100+ degrees in Houston over the weekend. How you guys doing down there?
I mean, was it? Because I mean, maybe it was, but it's been like the nicest summer in a while, because we're getting some cooler weather here from El Nino. You know, it's cooler and wetter out here in the South region as a result of El Nino, while it's hotter and drier in the northwestern part of the U.S. Here, I'll just send you a quick view of what I was dealing with over the weekend. because yeah, it was nice out here. I didn't have any complaints.
Okay, all right, good. All I know is I turned on a baseball game that was taking place in Houston, and everyone was complaining about the heat and how crazy it was. We just went through that up here, so I understand. But okay, with that as an aside, where do you want to start here today? I did go through a couple of these movers. I didn't do the technical breakdown that you normally did, but I did mention why they're moving here. But if you have any other stock that you want to go through or a mover, let me know. I'm going to step away for just a sec, but let me know which one you want me to start with.
Well, I could talk a little bit about Net Power since they had
earnings. Let's do that because this was also moving last week. Talked about this a little bit. Let me bring it up here. Do you want an intraday chart? Do you want a daily chart? I mean, look at this move to the 200.
Yeah, daily chart's fine.
Okay. I'm going to actually turn the 500 off so you get a little bit better of an idea of scale here. Talk to us about Net Power. Excuse me. I'll be right back.
So this company had earnings last week, and they also provided a business update. And originally when I was looking at this one, it was because they have a very interesting business partnership with a company called Entropy. And they've got a test site out in LaPorte, Texas, where they've got a 60 megawatt power plant that they use for testing and research to see if this technology works. It's essentially carbon capture technology where they take the CO2 from burning methane and oxygen together cleanly. You take CO2 and they sell it back to some of these oil drillers like Occidental Petroleum, and they use it for enhanced oil recovery. So that was, and they were on track to do all that and start a project in the Permian Basin with another 60. I think it was an 80 megawatt facility that they're going to expand to 800. They've already got a couple of Siemens natural gas turbines. But now, since their earnings, they've actually provided a business update. In light of all of the demand for power that these data centers are creating and needing to tap into, the U.S. grid or out here the ERCOT grid, they're seeing this demand to more rapidly deploy their modular power plants. And worry about the carbon capture later. They're going to retrofit that on later. So what they are doing are accelerating their plans to build behind the meter power generation for data centers. And that fits in with this theme that, we've been talking about how, a lot of the public is getting pushback on connecting to, the grid and straining the grid and causing electricity rates to soar. So now you're starting to see companies like Fermi, which is going to be a dedicated site for their own power generation and data centers. And now companies like this one, where they're going to be building behind the meter power generation. They still have all their partnerships in place. They still are going to wait on a final investment decision that's going to be later this year, so they can, have the commitments in place for offtake and for building all this out. So that's still yet to come. The company is a little bit more interesting, while at the same time a little less interesting. I think that there's, there's not going to be a whole lot of really big news until we finally get to that final investment decision. There may be some tidbits here and there, but essentially the way I'm kind of looking at this company now is that they've got some assets. They've got that test site and they've got the power generation, the turbines. And then they have about 310 million in cash. So it's almost as if they're just like basically a large bank account right now that are trying to work their way through the particulars of the different deals and partnerships they have with the different companies on the way to that final investment decision. So it's probably going to fade a little bit, I would say, maybe at this point until we get the next piece of news. All you got to do is look at the past and see the past price action and see how it's traded. This last time it hit the 200-day SMA, it started to fade and came back in. Absent news, I think that could very well happen again. So I did sell some of this. I still have some, a little bit, but if this
like a core position.
Yeah, if this begins to come back in, then I'll just pick some more up. Maybe it just depends on where they're at this point. But still, very interesting company. But that whole update on their business changed things a little bit. But they are still planning on building that, doing that Permian project. And it seems like their timeline on when they might get revenue is going to get moved up by about a year. Still don't have a lot of great details on that, but because they are now more geared towards trying to do immediate power generation to meet demand, this is a little bit more interesting in that aspect. It's just less interesting because they're basically a bank account with 310 million.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's just the way I'm looking at it right now. And there's still a lot more I can get into, but I don't want to take up all morning with this one company.
Yeah, but you know what? This was good because I feel like this has been almost a 30% move since we first put this on the radar. Yeah. And now we've come up to a resistance area here. To me, it makes sense. You're taking gains at this resistance area makes total sense. Trading around a core position, that's what I like to do with long-term holds so I can kind of build up a cost basis around it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
It's a really interesting company. It's kind of boring, I think, at the moment. But if they deliver on everything that they plan on doing, it's going to be awesome. They've got big, partnerships with Occidental and Baker Hughes to get all this going, and to sell their CO2 to Occidental. So they've got a lot of things that are really interesting that are lined up. But it's just the timeline now. It's going to take some time. We're talking like 2028 before they start seeing some revenue generation.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Really good stuff. We got 5 minutes till we open. Anything else you want to do? You want to roll through some of the movers? Did any catch your eye this morning, by the way?
So IPST and IVF, we've traded some of these before. IVF, we certainly have. We're getting a test here of the 65 EMA on IVF. This one, the float's low. I don't think it's super low, but it's still pretty low to where it could get pushed around. You have 1.78 million shares in the float. So if we get some support coming at any point soon here, we could see maybe a turnaround. Let's see what happens after this opens here, because it's leaking right into the open. And it may just capitulate and drop as soon as we open here and then start to trade better. So I think I would wait for the open on this one as we sink into it. There was another one that was kind of weird. APH, I think, was another one. This one, I think it's only up because of a reverse split.
Did you say APH?
Yeah, I think this is only up because of a reverse split, a 2-for-1 that's effective today.
No. What's ticker check?
That's it right there. You have it, APH.
Okay. APH.
Yeah. This one.
This was a regular split, not a reverse split. Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, a regular. Oh, sorry.
Was it a 2-for-1 split?
Oh, okay. I thought it was a reverse split because it was talking. I thought it was like a lower price at first, and then when it reverse split, it shot up to that. So that's why I thought it was reverse split. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, it's a 2-for-1 stock split. You're right. So.
Yeah, this just hasn't been split. The chart, the details thing hasn't been split adjusted here. Let me actually report this real quick.
Okay. It's just that, you have it closed last week at 83, and then you have it up here today in the 168. So anyway, that's what's going on with this one. They also had some insider exercise options last week. But I don't think this one's as interesting. Hasn't really moved a whole lot at all. 7,000 shares, 8,000 shares in the entire pre-market. So I don't think there's really anything here. It's just a result of that split.
Yeah.
And then, so IPST and IVF are the only two that looked particularly interesting. And IPST looks like it wants to go higher, while IVF looks like it wants to go lower into the open.
Okay. All right, we got 3 minutes till we open here. Looks like we've got the Clove spammers back. I guess we'll take a very quick look at this. Grumpy Cap, nice ripoff of one of the best internet memes of all time. You guys keep talking about Clove when nothing is going on. So tell us why it will have a nice move this week. Let us know. Because so far there's nothing here. There's no news. There's nothing going on. And this stock has been a massive disappointment. Last time there was a piece of news, created a whole bunch of bag holders. So you let me know what the bull case is here on that. We've got no news, nothing going on here on Clove. Now, Was there anything else from the movers list or from last week that we should mention? Weekday, this is that robotics that's ran right into the trend line. I don't think there's necessarily anything there, though.
So SpaceX actually closed their acquisition of Anysphere. They did there was a $60 billion acquisition. They issued shares. It's based off of what was the VWAP at the 7-day VWAP at the time that deal was signed. So it's back in June. And it's funny because as soon as that deal was signed in June, it was on the 12th, the stock just completely tanked and brought it down to around 154, I think is what the price ended up being. And those are, going to be locked up. They're restricted, I think, in tranches or at least, or at the most 180 days. So you might start to see some selling occur in February as a result of that when those shares become unlocked. That is going to dilute the stock's outstanding shares. I can't remember the exact number, but it's 300 and something million that they're adding to that. And then it looks like they're also SpaceX is also going to be doing a static fire test tomorrow, as they are going to be rolling out. I don't know if it's the booster or the Starship later this evening.
Okay, we are open. 13 Clove. Perfect. How about that? Pull right out of the open.
And I didn't hear any bell that I usually do from your end.
Yeah, that's because I have the sounds all fixed here so that my bot doesn't freak everyone out that their platform's doing something that they did not command it to do. So we worked on that last week. Okay. SPY. So first move here out of the open is up towards the VWAP. That's interesting. It has been weakening all morning. First move here up to the VWAP. Looks like it got rejected there. Okay, we'll see if we can hold 776 here today.
And out of the gate, we had IVF drop down. Now it's trying to recapture the 65 EMA. IPST is trying to break into the new high of day. The high that we have here is 870, which is in the pre-market. So this 8, this 8 handle looks like about maybe 830 to 850. You've got some sellers in the way here. So could be a tough area to get through unless we get some big volume to take us through right now. Meanwhile, IVF trying to turn around, recapture 240. That was a former support area. It might be resistance. We'll see what happens when it gets up there.
IVF trying to hold that 65 EMA on the 5, yep. By the way. We had someone question that last week. It continues to show its importance.
And then here we go with IPST pushing through that 850 area, or at least it popped briefly. Now it's moving through it. There we go.
Let's see if we take out the pre-market highs here.
A little bit of a trend line there from those last few wicks to the upside in the pre-market there. That could give us a little bit of a target, which looks like we're about to hit it. Maybe $9 is where we could pin it at.
And straight pull out of the open.
892. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
I was saying 892 is that current high in IPST. Nice little move out of the gate there. If it comes back in, it looks like support's going to be possibly down around 750. You might have some support a little bit earlier around 8, but 750 looks a bit better.
Okay, looking at the SPY here. So that bounce very quickly melted. We are almost right back onto the lows. We'll see here if 776 holds here today. I see a couple of people mentioning that they're having issues with Schwab. Actually, okay, so the Goods, Kathy, and Ray all mentioning issues. What are the issues that you're having? I have not tried to execute a trade yet, but I'll let you know if the bot has any trouble. What do you got, 13?
IVF is trying to move through VWAP. It's up there right now, finding it as resistance. We're through the 240 area. If it gets over VWAP, there's a trend line that you can draw from the lows at around 550 this morning, drop to the low of 815. This was a previous support area that we lost, and now we're looking at it as resistance, but we're kind of just going right through it. So we'll see if this ends up holding here. IVF with some pretty good volume here.
Yeah, Schwab is not executing anything. Okay, Kathy, HC Louis, the Goods, you cannot see or put on orders. Okay, well, that is an interesting way to start a Monday. That's kind of terrible, frankly. Let me know if that resolves for anybody. Again, I've not tried to make any trades. It'll be interesting to see if I get any errors from the bot here. If it tries to execute, I wonder if if the API is still allowing order execution or if it's just the front end terminal. Bruce says he can't log in. And then EKS, you got filled. Okay. So it looks like we're having some conflicting reports. Let's put it that way. I'm logged in, but I can't see stocks. That's terrible. I was able to close a trade on TOS. Ed says me too. Okay. So it looks like we're having some TOS issues here today.
Big moves here in BNR out of the gate here. I wonder with what's going on with some of the other crypto names. MSTR up, so it looks like Bitcoin might be having a good morning. Certainly, it looks to be the case.
Yeah, Bitcoin was up in the pre-market, and it's now at the pre-market highs 13 post-open here on Bitcoin. Amazon, big pull, by the way, 261. Amazon's down 5 points here from the pre-market high. Sorry,
it's okay. It looks like it looks like the Bitcoin can come up to about 63,750 before you run into some resistance. I think if we can get through 64, we're gonna probably go higher. That's that might end up
Bitcoin,
happening.
Right? 64K. You think we probably go? Okay, got it.
That's that's a maybe. I don't want to say, oh yeah, we're gonna rip and all this. It's looking like we're finding resistance up in that $250 area between 63,750 and 64. So we're kind of flagging a little bit right now. I'm just curious to see if that ends up being the spot where we break out and if we hold it, if it takes us higher. So 64 is kind of a level at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. We're seeing a little bit of bounce back here. The indices are kind of holding where they're at, meaning they're not breaking down anymore. A couple of those stocks that pulled, except for Amazon, are trading higher. So Ondas traded up a little bit. SpaceX traded up out of the open. Amazon keeps pulling. Bitcoin and the Bitcoin-related stocks are also trading up out of the open. Hello, Lion. Hopefully your weekend was good. Good to see you.
Morning, Lion. We have IVF doing pretty good this morning. So we were leaking all the way down to the 65 EMA. We got support from that moving average, and now we are in a much better spot, much toward the top end of the pre-market trading. If we can hold above VWAP, I think we can still see higher prints. I would say $3 looks possible on this VWAP hold. We can continue holding this. I mean, we might actually just get it pretty soon here.
Yeah, we might. And that actually looks like a resistance area. SPY is trying to bounce here. The Nasdaq actually having a little bit more success trying to bounce so far.
IPST also trying to bounce. Looking to recapture that VWAP. If it does, then we might actually get a break over 9 if we can hold VWAP. IVF, that's the same thing. We're over VWAP now, but if we can hold it, then I think we see the other side of 3.
Okay, SanDisk getting mentioned here. So some of those memory names up more. SanDisk up 6+%. This is actually above the pre-market highs. Micron is the other one that's being mentioned there. That's above 1,000. That is also above its pre-market highs. These two memory names looking like they are strong here so far. What do you got?
So you mentioned WETO earlier. This is halted to the upside. It looks like this is about to take off and go higher. I can't really say exactly how, where this is headed. I might be able to, get an idea with some of these highs from the regular session on Friday and the after hours. If you just use that, like that 120 high, draw it through the after hours high, that might be able to give us a bit of an area where it runs to.
120 high.
So if you look at the regular session from Friday,
I got it. I think I just needed to listen to you. 13. That was it. That was it. Here's your 120 high. Here's your pre-market high. We're basically extending this trend line out. That gives us a target.
Yeah, we'll see if that ends up shaking out there, but it's halted right now. So, and it's a pretty interesting formation that we have here into this halt. We're trying to break into some of the highs just that we only saw in the beginnings of the regular session on Friday. So there could be a quick move up and a quick move down out of this halt. So just be careful with this one here. It's already kind of put a bit of a move in, and I don't know how much more we're going to get. But if we get this trend line, it might happen fast. That's all I'm saying.
Cerberus, CBRS ripping right out of the gate here.
Excellent.
Right out of the gate here.
Okay, let's see.
That's just a 30-point move right out of the open. Nice hood reversal. Take a look at hood. Where was that regarding that? Okay, actually, it looks like it fell away from that spot. Let me go back to the bigger chart here on hood, because weren't we at like a congregation of moving averages? Yeah, we were. Okay, so we stayed under that. This is what I was looking at. The congregation of the 200 and the 50. We're actually beneath both of them. I'd watch this if you could break above this.
Copart having a continuation of their upside that they had on Friday. 32.15 now the high. I like this theme. Since we started
really
talking,
good timing on that too.
I think so, because we started talking about this, I have been seeing a lot of news come out about a lot of things regarding around this theme. Things like how this could create, the defaults on auto loans could create a financial crisis. Mechanics, giving up and quitting their jobs because they just can't take their whatever company they work for anymore. I mean, it's interesting how much has come out since we started talking about this. So I think we're in a good theme with the used car and the car parts idea.
Yeah, I really like that idea. It was really well timed as well. Okay, so for all of you guys that are part of the Clove spamming group here, if you continue to do that, you'll just continue to receive bans. So goodbye, Grumpy Cat. You passed away a long time ago anyway, so you're just ripping off somebody else's name. If anyone else would like to just needlessly pump that stock, go ahead. We'll go ahead and throw you out of here. We don't tolerate that type of garbage here at all. So that is your only warning there. Lion says the first 5 minutes close red, make me wonder if we're going to flash down. So Lion, it seems to me that you think we might have more of a pullback on our hands than we're kind of seeing here. We had talked about SPY maybe finding some support there at 776. That's broken away now. So we are at lower than that. Buffalo by Bicycle. My orders do not work on the Schwab website, but I am able to trade on Thinkorswim. Okay. No trade for me yet here by the bot or for me independently. I'll let you know if that gets rectified. Scott saying he can't trade on Schwab.
I'm really sorry to hear that you guys are having trouble with some of your brokers here, but it happens sometimes, and I believe there's not a whole lot of things I can say about it, but
Westcap gave us the best piece of advice you can in this. Charles Schwab is not letting people trade a lot of small stocks. Sorry, guys, you need to have a backup broker. So we've actually talked about this before. If you really want to be able to trade these things every day, no matter what, all brokerages have outages. You will need to get more than one if you want to make sure you're available every day. For me, when stuff like this happens, I just take my foot off the gas.
Yeah, I don't have a backup option that I use to trade. What I do when I have days like that where that's acting up or whatever the case is, I start to research the next trade idea.
Yeah.
Just if you have time, you either go and give yourself a relaxing day or get to work on the next thing that might run or provide a trade, like the next theme. It's make use of your time if you still want to participate in markets.
Kathy, so it sounds like a lot of people are going through this. Some folks aren't seeing any issues. Others are. Kathy, I've been on hold. Let us know what happens with that.
Bitcoin might be coming right up to that area that I was saying could be resistance at 63,750. If we get past that, then we'll probably see the 64 and more. SpaceX taking off as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm actually watching the SpaceX chart here. This thing is just straight up out of the open. Interesting. Bob says, since the PDG changed, Schwab has been limiting orders under $10. That's right, Marcus. Marcus, I know you're a busy guy too, Marcus. You don't have time for nonsense. Neither do we. Neither do the people that are joining here. You guys choose to spend your morning here. Nonsense is not something we go after. Grand Rising, Marcus. Hopefully you're doing well. EKS, always a good piece of advice. If something isn't working technologically, go take the dog for a walk and listen to a podcast. EKS, I don't know if I've ever asked you this. What are some of your favorite pods to listen to? And I would take other suggestions from the chat. STFS. So this was one of our halted stocks earlier. This opened higher, went to 6, and there it goes, a pop through 6.
Oh, let me look at that one. I haven't looked at that yet.
And then you got, this is a China name, really quick. And then it also sounds like Rocket Lab is taking off. So this is a China name with 1.1 million shares in the float and a sub 5 million market cap, 13.
Probably getting taken for a ride. I don't
probably
see
get taken for a ride. Yep.
I don't see any news recently. Do see that there was a big insider buy. See that Zhang Pingting, chief the CFO, buying $2 million.
Okay.
That was back in July, late July. So that's notable, but it's not the reason it's moving today.
Lion says, Ryan, we need to have a little bit of nonsense. That's what makes life exciting. Mm-hmm. Lion, you run a restaurant. I think maybe even more than one. You probably deal with your fair share of nonsense. As someone that's worked in several restaurants over the course of their life, I'm willing to bet that you know exactly what nonsense is. Just as an aside there, we don't need any added market nonsense. SPY is trying to hold down here at 755. Looks like it's trying to turn around. What do you got, 13?
No, we're getting like a pull on a lot of these names that we're running this morning. We had big moves in quantum that just turned around briefly. The names that we were trading this morning, they turned around, went right back down. So IVF underneath its VWAP, IPST back underneath its VWAP. APH, the one that didn't have really any movement going on, that's up, but moving very slowly on very little volume. Other than that, you have stuff that's kind of just pulling after their run that they just went on. STFS, though, let me see if I can get an idea or a sense of where we might be going with this one, because I don't think this is going to be behaving with any of the fundamentals whatsoever. Looks like 745 could be a spot. Let me double check all this here.
Aha.
What's that?
Okay, so real quick, so I had Grok do a health check on everything because you guys were reporting that Schwab is having a whole bunch of issues. The bot is up and trading, but Schwab's order API is having a rough open. And that just cost me a fill. Interesting. So it's actually, so the API is not sending orders for me, folks.
STFS, this looks like it's been getting a lot of support from its 200-day SMA. And finally, when the 20-day SMA came down to the 200, today is the day where it kind of converged and the price popped over that. I don't know if there's anything that we can really draw on with that. So I'm just going to go with levels here and say that 650 is the current resistance. But if we manage to get over that, it looks like you have some really big resistance up at 8. 745 still also a spot as well. So between 650 and 8, I would say that 740, 745 area is going to be your resistance in between that area. If we turn around there, then it could later be a breakout spot. But 8 looks to be a really, really tough area of resistance if it gets up there.
And this is, which ticker was this?
This is STFS.
STFS, no wonder. I brought up 2 of the wrong tickers, 13. That's my bad. Really quick, Kathy, you're still on hold there. Hazard is saying you forgot about MU and SanDisk. No, we took a look at both of those. We talked about how both of the memory names not only traded up out of the gate, but actually took out their pre-market high. We also added that Micron was back above 1,000, by the way. Although this did pull back a little bit towards, I guess you could call it that breakout level. Right, basically the pre-market high. We talked about this, just nothing has happened since then. Nothing new has happened since then.
Yeah, this I'd be curious to see how this ends up closing here today. I don't want to make any estimation or dare I say prediction on what Micron's going to do. I want to see how this closes today and maybe tomorrow as well. I'd like to see this hold above the 50-day SMA if we're going to get some confidence about this going higher. I want to see it above, hold above that moving average. So this could be day 2.
Kathy says, I'm green to red on 2 trades that I'm trying to get out of. Oh, no.
STFS just had a big pull and a halt down.
Oh, no.
645. It's at that one resistance area. 650 is what I was looking at. 645 is as high as we got. So that pulled us down here into a halt. We'll see what happens afterwards. You're looking at which one now?
STFS. I was just looking at the one that you were commenting on. This just retraced 50% of the stick. Though what I was saying, oh no, to is that it sounds like Kathy has entered a trade successfully, but the thinkorswim issues that a number of people are reporting are prohibiting her from getting out of. That is one of my biggest fears. That is one of my biggest fears, Kathy. And here's Weto that you guys are mentioning. This is halted above the trend line.
Oh my God, these trend lines, my God. Well, so folks, this is how you find a target. We just took 2 highs, and it wasn't, particularly the 2 highest highs. It just is one that happened after the big impulse that we got out of the gate on Friday. When it started to recover, that first high was around 2 o'clock. And then we had another one in the after hours. And that's all I was looking at to get this target. It's really that silly. It's that simple and that silly sometimes. So now that we've hit that, what's next? Well, if this unhalts and continues to go higher, then we're going to want to see this trend line be support. If we unhalt and we come right back beneath it, then this trend line is pretty much established as resistance. And if it makes another visit up here later, the next visit could see a breakthrough and hold. So that's just some of the things that to keep in mind here. But for now, we got to wait and see what happens here out of this on the halt. What a move, and congratulations anybody that captured this.
Okay. Rocket Lab, by the way. And actually, the bot did just take a trade here. I'll let you know if it gets out of this. Took a trade on QQQ options, by the way. So we'll see if we get anything on that. Hopefully, if it doesn't work, hopefully we're actually able to stop out of that. We'll see, though. We shall see.
Jay Wild mentioning GXAI. We've seen this one lots of times. Is this putting in a move? It's up 7%. Penny name looking for $1. Looks like on Friday they announced an immediate exercise of warrants. We're going to get about 3.6 from the proceeds. But that was news that already happened. So we already had all that reaction. That was on Friday. And now we're trying to recover. All right, let's see what we're getting here with some of these names that we're moving. Looks like IPST is getting some support down around, I think I mentioned this 7 area. I can't recall if I did or not, but it looks like it's getting some support down there. I may have also mentioned the 65 EMA, but we didn't see that the price hit that yet. Trying to turn around right now and recapture the VWAP. That's up at 8. IVF also trying to do the same thing, recapture VWAP. Volume isn't as great as before, so I don't know if it's going to be able to do that. It's also on the underside of the trend line. It's got a little bit more working against it. So we're going to need to see some bigger volume out of IVF. It's going to come back up to the prices it reached out of the open. SpaceX just hit 147, and I expect that it could go up to 150 because that's a resistance area.
Yeah, and Kathy, Kathy, I think that I'm having the same problem that you are. Sorry, 13. Really quickly here. So I am also having the same problem where PHOS is not exiting. It's a little bit delayed. The API is working, but it's not working all that well. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I might pause the bot, because if I don't have control over new orders, that's no bueno.
Yeah. I think it's best to just have the bot sit on its robo hands.
I think that you're right. Okay, bot is stopped here, so there's not going to be any new trades. That trade ended up getting closed about flat. So, man, oh man, Thinkorswim not having the greatest day pretty much across the board. And it doesn't, and actually I take that back. It doesn't even look like it's strictly Thinkorswim. It sounds like it's Thinkorswim. It's the API. It also might be the web portal. So it looks like they're having trouble across their system here. Not ideal. Definitely don't want to have an automated bot trading that. That is on pause for now.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just going to make for a slow day today. You know, if you're taking a number of traders out of commission there.
Yeah.
I was just going to mention one of the names from last week appears to be moving interestingly, not very quickly or anything like that, but I like the formation that we got going on here. It's Stakeholder Foods, STKH.
Okay.
This one popped on Friday. It went massively high relative to its close the previous day, as high as 820. Pretty much gave it all back, especially in the after hours. And now here we are, kind of with a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders formation in the from the after hours into the pre-market. I don't know if you can really tell if you include all of that information there, like as high as 8. But if you go closer to the after hours and the pre-market
here,
yeah, just kind of like extended
gotcha.
up. Kind of like extended up so you can see the candles better.
Yep.
You should be able to see a little more of that. There you go. You see more of that formation there.
You're talking like right in here, right?
From the just before the close of Friday into the after hours, a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders formation. It looks like there. So just kind of watching to see if this ends up breaking above. I think we'll say there's a lot of consolidation right there. So somewhere between, like, it's around 375. I want to say the breakout is. So we'll see what happens, because every time it gets up to 375, it's just rejected. And that's been the case since it lost that level just before the close on Friday. You see how it was like trading down, went sideways a bit and created that consolidation, and then we just dropped. So now that area where we initially dropped is around 375, and that is the big resistance level that I'm keeping an eye on here. And if we get volume expansion in this regular session, we might be able to climb back up through that area. So that's what I'm watching for here.
Yeah, that 380-ish, let's just say right around there. Okay, yeah. Grok says, the bot is stopped. That is the right move while Schwab cannot execute fills. Thank you, AI, for knowing what's going on. By the way, let's just take 1 sec here and just marvel at the Clove spammers this morning. They did a great job of sending the stock straight down. Just want to point that out real quick.
Well, they wanted people to buy it so they could exit. STFS, meanwhile, this is putting a new session high. This mover from this morning. Let's look at some of the other ones. IVF still trying to climb over its VWAP. IPST still having trouble with its VWAP, trying to turn around as well. APH, a very, very slow mover, but up back in the supply zone from the pre-market. So let's see what happens up there. Other than that, not seeing a whole lot of other things go on here. So look at Wito. So now this is back open. It did climb back over the trend line, and now it is using it as support for the time being, which is fantastic. If we hold this trend line here, there are certainly going to be some higher prints. Let me get you some dumb levels.
Oh, here we go.
Oh man. There's no guarantee we actually hit any of this stuff, but it's always fun to look and say, well, maybe. God, these are just ridiculous. This closest dumb level that I see, it's going to have to be.
Oh my!
What?
I noticed a whole bunch of Micron calls, and Micron is just ripping to the highs right now. It had nothing to do with what you were doing. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay. 3250, I would say, is about where the next dumb level is. So that's a ways away from here. I don't know that it's going to get up there, but we'll see. That's the dumb level that I'd be keeping an eye on. It's kind of wild. And of course, if it trades underneath that trend line, then we don't have to worry about that dumb level anymore. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, and then really quick here, Ed saying still no luck closing out transactions. That's no good. So Ed, you know what the craziest part was for the stock that I was in? I asked I asked Schwab, I guess, to close. I used my flatten now command that I coded into my dashboard. So I actually didn't even touch the order in Thinkorswim. It was delayed. It closed eventually, but it did eventually close. Part of me wonders, Ed, I don't know if you were trying Thinkorswim, if you try maybe their web portal, they'll actually let you close that. Kathy, how about you? Did you try multiple ways of closing those orders? I mean, I just really hope you guys don't get caught and end up giving money for a broker problem. I'm down $7 on my position, so I'm not going to cry to anybody here. But I know some of you might be have a lot more on the line than that.
Call Schwab, tell them they owe you $7.
No, I'm not even going to try to fight with them over $7. That's for sure. Anyone using any of the other SMAs with the 50 and the 200 hazardous? That's a great question. We of course use the 50 and the 200. I would argue that those are probably the two most important simple moving averages, at least in my analyses. But I would say on top of that, we also use the 100 and the 500 in conjunction with that. We often also use the 20-day. The 20-day is going to be more for like trend though than the other ones that you're mentioning. But I would say 20, obviously the 50 and the 200 that you mentioned, and then the 100 and the 500 on top of that. The good says web is down for Thinkorswim. So okay, I guess that takes that out.
Yeah, I typically use the 20, 50, and 200-day SMAs in most of my analysis, and that's the moving averages that I used for at least a day or higher. I don't typically use those moving averages for intraday price action. I use EMAs only. I also like the 500. The 500 I feel is a very useful way of gauging where people are with their mentality after a 2-year period, because 500-day SMA is very, very close to 2 years worth of trading. It's 504 days in a 2-year trading period. That's how many days that you are actually open for trading. So that I find that one to be very, very useful for longer term analysis. 500 for a swing is king. Hell yeah. Yeah, 500. Yep. Because there's 252 trading days in a year. So 504 is 2 years. And you could do a 504 moving average, but it's just easier to remember 500.
So real quick here, Mark is saying, I wonder how much the Schwab outage is impacting trading volume. Maybe we should write a news story about that. That's interesting. But see, EKS saying that he's getting fills, but no exits. I'd be curious if something happens on an exit. I'm just really, really interesting stuff here. I'm sorry I'm focusing so much on the outages. That's not really helping any of you that can trade.
It's okay.
My apologies.
We too popped as high as 670, and now it's come back down, and it's getting support from that trend line still. As long as that trend line continues to provide support, there's still a chance for higher prints. We lose this trend line, then VWAP is your next support area. Got some higher prints in STFS, 682 now. That's continuing to climb. It's looking for 7.
Okay.
Looks like IVF might experience a bit of a breakout above the trend line that we drew earlier. It's holding VWAP, and if it can break above this
trend line, yeah,
Yeah, if we can break above that, then we might be able to get back up to that 280s again.
Now, 13, do we think that this trend line from the high in the pre-market to the high we made in the regular session might be target worthy here?
Well, I think that I would be just keeping an eye on 3. I think 3 is still the big resistance area, because we don't have any closes above 3. But we do have plenty, a couple prints up in that area, and it seems like the sellers really start to step in as we get over 285. So 285 to 3 is the area I think we need to get through. And if we start closing above that, then I think we can go higher. Yeah, and Daniel's right with IVF and even this one here too that we're just looking at. They all need some better volume. They had great volume when they first opened here, but they're not back up to that volume just yet. So that volume is certainly something that needs to expand here. And if we can get that expansion now to get back over this trend line, then I think that we'll try to challenge that 285 to 3 area.
All right. So SPY, that moved a little bit low. Let me put it on screen here instead of just trying to describe the chart for you. Sorry about that. SPY did move a little bit lower here, but it's not breaking down. Now, I'll tell you what, this action here, unless we really start to plunge, this action here has me thinking that we may bounce at some point here. Kathy saying Schwab trades are now going through. The Good says he is back up. Okay, then you know what? I'm going to try it here. We're going to try turning this back on. I'll let you know what the bot does here, if anything. Good to know that it did take entry on the 0 DTE strategy, although I tried to close that for a $150 gain and ended up taking a $7 loss on it. But again, given the size of that position versus what some of you folks are doing, I'll take that.
Looks like we might be getting that move here. We're getting a little bit now with IVF, but we need some more volume to get on the other side of that trend line. But it's pushing.
Dave said toss is slow but working. Okay, well. And here's God, this IVF, is this really going to ride this trend line this entire time, 13? I mean, if it does this,
if it does it, then I don't think it's that great. I want to see it on the other side of the trend line and ride it up on the top side of it.
Yeah, I just mean if it like obeys it this entire time, it's just going to be another data point for how awesome our trend lines have been.
These algos, they love the trend lines, don't they? They do.
Slow makes a difference, says Bigabees. Indeed, it does.
There was a mention about PSX from EKS. It's close to all-time high. You must have been in that one for a while. Congratulations on your trade, man. That's awesome.
PKS? Oh, EKS. I'm
EKS. I'm PSX.
PSX.
Now say it 5 times fast.
Yeah. Can I not do that though?
Well, IPST not able to get over its VWAP, but not breaking down just yet. Still has support in the 650 to 675 area. And you still have that 65 EMA for support, but still not able to get back above VWAP just yet. Not counting it out, but it is a little bit down.
SpaceX at the top of my scanner here.
Is it over 150 yet? Nope.
Oh, why didn't it get clicked on though? There we go.
Oh, they launched 2 rockets 38 minutes apart. So that must be with the regard, but that's likely with regard to their Falcon 9, which is awesome. I mean, man, we are just in a space economy now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I don't think you were here for the A block, but I talked about the Voyager story here today.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to be living on the moon by 2030 or in the 2030s.
Did you see the okay, so this came out just minutes after I think the day ended for us on Friday, with the regular session. I put a video in the happy hour chat, and it was basically the everyday astronaut visiting Voyager and going inside Star Lab and talking with the CEO. And there they also mentioned that they have a partnership with Inflection. And so it's here. I'll just link it for you so you guys can.
And I'll and 13. If you link it to me, I'll try and throw it in the chat here. If it's a video that you think others would want to watch.
There you go.
Boom, boom, boom. I will watch this myself a little bit later. Here's the video 13 was referencing in the chat there for you folks.
All right, now IVF still trying to climb over that trend line, getting a little bit more volume, so that's encouraging. It looks like we are getting a bit of an expansion there, so we need to continue to get that. It's back underneath the trend line, still holding VWAP.
IVF, I see it here. I see it. I lost my mouse though. Oh my heavens.
STFS halted to the downside. This one, when it unhalts, may end up lower. This is 3 different candles that's attempted to climb over VWAP, and it has not been able to hold. So that might signal that there are too many sellers and not enough buyers, and we could be going lower. It looks like 530, 525, 530 is your support area for now. We'll see what happens out of that halt.
And as far as riding the trend line up, we continue to do that here on IVF.
Hilarious. Still above VWAP, riding up that trend line. Not able to get above and close it though, and I don't like that. I want to see it close above that, or else it's going to put a little bit more downside pressure on the price. Looks like Bitcoin's back up to moving, and we have an unhalt here from STFS.
Let's take a look at that. Oops, I think I clicked on PFSA, which also resumed. Here's your STFS. I tell you what, every time I start hearing this, I think people are going to start saying STFU. And I like STFS. I got to remember.
It's interesting because you have that VWAP there is the price is above it. My VWAP, my broker, the price is below it. Now we're moving through. We're trying to move through the VWAP right now. Let's see if this current candle can hold above it this time.
Okay, we'll see if we get that move here. STFS. For those of you trading the menu is almost what I called it. The memory names, and it looks like my chart's a little bit frozen here. It looks like Micron and SanDisk are both trying to bounce right now. Here's your Micron chart. This came back into VWAP. Do we see a bounce here? SanDisk already bouncing. Zach mentioning that Ondas is creeping back up. Yeah, so I wonder what that pull right out of the open was. You know, part of me wonders if any of this trade execution nonsense was affecting any of that too. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. AEHR getting another mention here. That was been a big winner for the group here.
I love how We2 is still holding above that trend line. It's traded beneath it, but it's still closing above it for the most part here. Volume is looking a little bit softer, so that is a bit concerning about whether or not it can hold this trend line. But if we do hold it and get some more of that expansion, I think we're back above 16 if we do.
Ryan, I fully exited IDAI at $30 profit. I bet you're getting ready to buy a new motorcycle on that one, aren't you, Zach? $30 profit. Hey, better than a loss. And look at We2. It did hold that, and it's going back to 16 here.
Yep. Yep, and it's up here, up in this area that's about to move into. The sellers are there. This thing has got a pretty good spread going as well.
Hey, good stuff there. We2. Let's do a quick check-in on those memory names here. SanDisk might be taking out the high. How's Micron doing? Register ring. Do you hear the register ring, by the way?
I did.
Okay, so I've got that fixed. Lion here taking some gains on Micron. This also bouncing here, folks.
So David Tepper cuts Micron, gets CoreWeave, huh?
CoreWeave, I felt like, has made a huge move recently. I almost wonder how well timed that's going to be.
I haven't looked at CoreWeave's chart lately. That's interesting, though.
Here, I'll bring it up here for us. CRWV.
Looks like it to me. It looks like this wants to, kind of revisit 100 and test that to make sure that we are doing this and we are going higher. Like, let's just make sure by coming down and see if the buyers start to step in at 100, and if they do, then we come back up and we trade 120, 130. I don't know how high this is going to go, but I think based on the way this price action has shaped up here, I think this move over the 200-day SMA, that we want to confirm that we are going to get the support to keep it above there, and I think that support's going to come at about $100.
Okay.
So if this does come back down there, let's see what the price action looks like there. I would like to see this come down and maybe even have a sideways day for a day or two,
sure.
or a sideways moment for a day or two, and let's see if it can hold that 100. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't have the simples on my daily here. I just have the exponentials. But the point about holding 100 is sound. Really, the question is going to be, if it doesn't hold that, it probably fills the gap. No.
Yeah, that would take it down to about 94 and a quarter, 90, close to 95, something like that. Maybe even less than what I just said. But it's down in the low 90s there. So yeah, that'd be fine too. If we get that gap fill and it looks like the buyers are really starting to step in there and pick this up and keep it above 200, then it might turn around.
I'm going to try refreshing Pro here because I keep getting those charts broken. SanDisk new highs.
So this is why I didn't like riding the underside of the trend line in IVF.
I'm trying to go to it.
Mm-hmm.
IVF. Here we go. And I got a working chart. We're good to go.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted this to climb on the other side of that trend line.
Yep.
That was the concern there for me. Meanwhile, STFS, also the same thing with that rejection that I was mentioning earlier, couldn't hold that VWAP, and it looks like we may end up kind of curling over here and coming back in. I don't know about losing 5, although it seems like that's maybe in the cards here. I think your support's going to be a little bit earlier, around 525. So we'll see if we get that support there. But if not, then yeah, we'll lose 5. Okay, let's see what else we have going on here.
Let's see. Palantir's higher. Amazon stopped at about 261. That's holding here. VIX I know the VIX has been higher all morning, but that did roll over and go sub 15. So that might be something to watch.
Ben's grabbed 700 of We2. Wow. Okay. So, hey, that trend line is on this one is working pretty well. We got our support on that trend line, and we are higher now, 1828. Current high. Hey, Ben, I'm glad that this is working out for you. This is a trade though. Hopefully, we're all on the same page that this is one that we trade, we make some money in, and then we don't just hang on to this because maybe it could go higher. Manage your trade and know what you're trading. Really good stuff here with We2. This is the one I think said we could see that that $32, $32.50, something like that. Yeah, the dumb level or whatever I gave it, what that was. We'll see if we end up getting there. I don't expect we will, but hey, if it does, we at least know why.
Toss charts are speeding up now, says Dave.
Right.
That's my realization here too. The bot is back on. It's actually in 3 trades right now, and all of them are green. I'm going to keep watching that though. Good to see that Toss is at least looking like it's the usability is better here.
Oh my God! Look at We2. Just look at it. Let's look at this thing. Let's look at it. This thing is hilarious.
I clicked on it. Why aren't you going to it? Look at that, dude. It's going to that stupid level, isn't it?
I don't know, but if it does, it's so dumb. Oh, man. Don't expect it to go to that level, folks, please. Don't just stick around in this thing thinking, oh, yeah, it's definitely going to go there. It might not. This is, already not making sense. Just please make sure you're paying yourself if you're trading this.
Yeah, Sheesh is right, Anne-Marie. Joe says, I was able to execute a market order on Schwab website, no hiccups. That means it got filled at an appropriate time as well. That's good to know.
What can you do but laugh sometimes at these crazy things?
I mean, that's it, dude. Laughter is the best medicine. That's all you can do.
Now, STFS, so that came down and found the support at the areas we were talking about. So it looks like the low here right now on this current candle is 504. This is about as low as we would want to see it go, because any lower than we're probably in trouble here with this name. So this is the support that it needs. And if we turn around here and recapture VWAP, then maybe we're back in business. But this is, that 5 area, that was important for the support to kick in, because lower than that. And I think this is, definitely coming underneath 5, going into some of the mid to low 4 handle or area.
Okay. And I can also confirm here, I just manually flattened again a trade that the bot made. Looked like it was fine. Looked like it flattened with no issue there. So I think I don't want to say, it appears to me, at least on my end, that the thinkorswim problems that we saw from this morning are better. I don't want to say that they're fully done, but it does seem like things are better now.
That's a good point there, Big B. He's saying that experiencing any issues related to broker technology failures, always contact them for possible compensation.
Yeah.
Keep track of the time, the order confirmation, and approximately how long it took to fill.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do to help you with that, be sure to pull your trade history from your broker, because it'll have timestamps on those fills. You can use that as a reference.
Is We2 halted? I don't have an indication. It looks like it is. I don't have an indication.
I can tell you. Yes, halted. In fact, that halt time was at 10:19:08, halted to the upside 1962.
Okay, so we're coming up on about 2 minutes that it's been halted. Is this the first or second halt? I don't think this is the first one. And it looks like IVF and IPST are getting support from their respective areas where we were talking about them potentially getting some support. IPST down at that 65 EMA. That's trying to turn around here. Don't like the volume though. So
this is IPST. Yep.
Yeah, IPST. So it might be turning around, but I think this needs more volume if we're going to get back up to VWAP and back over it. Same thing with the IVF. It's down at a support area. It's actually underneath at 65 EMA. So I think it has an even greater task of recapturing upside. Need to see better volume in both of these. Looks like Copart is curling back up to revisit 32.15. We're just waiting to see what We2 does. What a move We2 had. Just out of nowhere, we were just like, oh yeah, look at these other movers. And then We2 is like, get ready.
Yeah, a little bit delayed, that first halt. Then once we broke the trend line, back test the trend line and went higher, that was it. That was all she wrote, as they say. Oh, cool. So some of the logic that I changed on my bot here, the strategy also trades puts now in addition to calls. And it actually took a SPY put position that is working. So interesting. So the bot actually doing pretty well here today, especially given some of the issues that we seem to have run into. I beg your pardon.
Trevor, unfortunately, I can't give stupid levels for a stock like PSX when it's making new all-time highs and a blue sky breakout, because the stupid levels are based off of previous price action and EMAs, and there's none of that up here. So we're probably any level above where it's at right now is probably a stupid level. This thing has got a very extended RSI, not the highest it's ever been, but we're almost there. The last time it was up this high was in April of 2024. That reached nearly 80. So I would say, or 82, it looks like. So maybe if once the RSI gets over 80, that could be when you're starting to see the stupid level. Yeah, all the refineries at all-time highs. This is something that we've talked about a lot. When we started getting into this Iran conflict, it was even before all that happened. This was last year we started talking about how there was going to be an energy glut. There was going to be a lot of crude, but refiners were starting to become under pressure because you had California shutting refineries, you had Russia getting their refineries bombed. Now we have refineries in the Middle East getting attacked from Iran and their proxies. So yeah, refinement capacity worldwide has absolutely been cut down. So refiners that are still in operation are raking it in, and you're going to see it in countries like, of course, the U.S. I think Cayman Islands have some, and you have India. Now China's refineries, I don't know if that necessarily is. They should be doing well, but I think they're holding on to the refined fuel. I don't think they're exporting it as much, but yeah, a lot of other exporters of refined fuel, they're doing fantastic.
We talked about going into 2026 that how energy was going to be a theme just in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What were you looking at there? What?
We too. Unhalted and halted again. Okay, I'm starting to think that maybe the stupid levels are going to happen. I'm starting to think that, but this is also the third candle that looks like this after getting support. So then out of this halt, we might see some selling pressure. Just keep that in mind. But I don't know that this thing is necessarily going to be done if we're going to still look at getting those stupid levels hit. But I think after these past three candles that we've had, I would think that some selling is about to happen out of this next halt.
Okay, we'll see what we get there. We got 5 more minutes here. This is actually not the worst Monday. I hesitate to say that because I know we've had some of these broker issues, which are never fun. But considering everything that's happened, it hasn't been terrible. And it looks like, so everyone that had a problem earlier placing orders, does it seem to be resolved now? That's kind of the temperature I get from the chat here. Kathy, how are you doing? I know you had multiple earlier that were giving you trouble.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a little bit better volume now that we have people coming back online.
It's funny. We got asked that question earlier. I kind of poo-pooed it, but I think you might be right. As more people are trusting their platform, might be trading a little bit more now.
Mm-hmm.
Seems that way, anyway.
Looks like we're getting a pull here in SpaceX after getting really close to 150, the resistance area that we talked about. 149.68 was the high.
I was waiting Weto out, but we can take a look at here at SpaceX.
Well, I mean, we can certainly watch Weto. I don't know how much longer it's got in this halt. I think it might have a little while, but we were also talking about SpaceX, and 150 is the next big resistance area. That was the opening price when this debuted on the exchange. So that's going to be resistance. It's the very first print we ever had was 150. AEHR run up to 140.
AEHR, you want me to put that on screen here?
Sure, we can look at that. And this one is this is that test company.
Yep.
What's that other one? We traded it just recently. Gosh, what is it? Because I would also want to.
It was a smaller one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, 13, but I cannot for the life of me recall what the ticker was. Take care, everyone. Anne-Marie, take care. Thanks for all that you do for us on a regular basis. By the way, I don't think we're going to see Anne-Marie this week, so thanks for joining us in the chat there.
Taking a vacation? Oh,
what do you got for us, 13?
So it reminded me, AHR, of another one that was also a testing company, Carmen Holdings.
KRMN?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yep.
This is one that I've been on, and because I like the what they're going to be, who they're working with and who they're testing for. SpaceX, RTX, names like that. Anduril. I liked how this was kind of double bottoming, and I can't remember exactly when I started talking about this, when I felt like it was in July, but this has been on a great run since the end of July and since we started August, recapturing the key level of 60. And if we continue to hold 60, then I think that we'll see $70, maybe even a test of that 200-day SMA. We are getting support from the 146 and a quarter area, and SpaceX trying to climb back up here. Still think you're probably going to see some continued downside. I think VWAP would be better support. We2 is open, popped up to 23.73 and is pulling, just like
just like it was telegraphed.
Yeah, because there was going to be some selling after that halt there. Now we could still continue to buy this up and go to that stupid level, but I don't know how long the selling's going to last. But I was expecting to see some selling here. Maybe it halts down. You do have some support in the 16, 17 area, but we still have a whole day here with this one. So stupid levels are certainly something to keep an eye on here, even if we do come back in.
All right, 13, we're out of time here for today. That was a good kind of wrap there on We2, but do you have any closing words for the rest of the group here?
Well, folks, I'm glad that your brokers are working again. And hopefully you can play a little catch-up if that's what you're going to do here today. Just make sure you're playing catch-ups wisely. Don't get yourself trapped in anything. I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll find some more of these crazy movers, and we'll see where they can go, if they can hit stupid levels or not. But until then, have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
All right, folks, take care. 13, really good stuff here. Good way to open up the week. We'll be back at this again tomorrow, folks. For those of you that join us in the afternoon, no happy hour today, as I have an obligation, but we'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early. Got another interview for you tomorrow as well. Folks, stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you next time. Take care.